One of the 5 largest countries in the world, with over 240 million people and a GDP of $375 billion, is now building a national strategic Bitcoin reserve. And they're not stopping there. This same country is preparing to fire up 2,000 megawatts of mining power, a scale that rivals the energy use of entire nations. Now, this isn't some tiny economy. It is a nuclear-armed state, strategically positioned between global superpowers. And the decision to adopt Bitcoin at this scale, it could infuriate the IMF for reasons that we're going to break down shortly.
Let me break this down for my fellow Bitcoiners. In just 8 weeks, I've seen a serious shift. More strength, more energy, and fast muscle gains. The reason? FITSCRIPT. They ran 124 biomarkers, blood, hormones, inflammation, and built a fully custom plan: nutrition, training, supplements. No guesswork, no templates. This is functional medicine meets precision fitness for high-performing men who want sovereignty over their health. If you care about optimization the way you care about your money, test, don't guess. Don't trust, verify. Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to check out FITSCRIPT and see what's possible.
Yes, indeed, at the Bitcoin 2025 event in Las Vegas, in a what I'll say is surprise move, the head of Pakistan's crypto council announced that the country is indeed moving to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. In Vegas, the head of the crypto council said the government is following the United States lead to establish the reserve, and they're embracing quote unquote pro-crypto regulatory policies. Now, this comes as a surprise because just a couple short years ago, the finance minister in Pakistan said that crypto will never be legal in Pakistan because of the Financial Action Task Force and some of their rules. But as we've seen, things can change quickly, and the US administration and their stance on Bitcoin has very much turned the tides. Furthermore, we've covered this previously on the show, but CZ, the former head of Binance, is on the quote-unquote crypto council in Pakistan and with some other nations, advising them on potential moves like we're now seeing playing out. So we're going to take a listen to the announcement as it happened in Vegas. So let's listen in here.
Today is a very historic day because today I will announce that the Pakistani government is setting up their own government-led Bitcoin strategic reserve. And we want to thank the United States of America again, because we are getting inspired from them. And this wallet, the National Bitcoin Wallet, is not for speculation or hype. We will be holding these Bitcoins and we will never ever sell them.
Now, I want to point out something that's even more interesting here. I alluded to the fact that this may perhaps anger the IMF. Now, why is that? To examine that, let's look back at what has happened with El Salvador. A lot of Bitcoiners were quite upset when Nayib Bukele inked a deal with the IMF to get a loan, but the conditions of the loan began to degrade the Bitcoin moves that the country had made. The most notable of which is that Bitcoin's status as legal tender was changed. So it's no longer legal tender. There's still capital gains. You don't have to deal with those there, and you can kind of freely use whatever you want, but you're not required to accept it. Not that that was really ever enforced. However, part of the loan deal for El Salvador was also that it was to stop accumulating Bitcoin. And Nayib Bukele, seemingly in contradiction to the agreement terms of the loan deal with the IMF, he continues to this day to accumulate Bitcoin for the National Strategic Reserve for the public sector. And there's a famous tweet now from him back in March that says, oh, this all stops in April. This all stops in June. This all stops in December. No, it's not stopping. If it didn't stop when the world ostracized us and most Bitcoiners abandoned us, it won't stop now and it won't stop in the future. Proof of work is greater than proof of whining, with a picture of the continued accumulation into their Bitcoin wallet. And just below, Michael Saylor responding, Bitcoin adoption is unstoppable. So, Nayib Bukele, IMF loan, them wanting him to stop his Bitcoin accumulation, and he's seemingly spitting in their faces and flaunting it, the fact that they continue to accumulate. So what does this have to do with Pakistan? Well, Pakistan just received yet another loan program from the IMF. To date, they've had 24 bailout programs since 1958. And the IMF is clearly not a fan of Bitcoin strategic reserves and anything to do with Bitcoin. They do say right now, just an article from a couple days ago, that they say that efforts will continue to ensure that El Salvador doesn't accumulate more Bitcoin. I don't think that is true. From what we've seen, I had my doubts. I thought that maybe they would be bending the knee, but everything that we've seen, they just continue to accumulate, and it's very, very blatant and out in the open. And this move by Pakistan, after just having received an IMF loan, and they're launching a Bitcoin strategic reserve and deploying hash rate and beginning to mine, it's kind of seems to me like the IMF is losing its influence and power, but they're still dishing out these loans. It's a very curious thing. So either there's stuff going on behind the scenes that is much more insidious than we know, or the heads of these states are realizing that they can game the system, that they can still have their cake and eat it too, or get their loans and buy Bitcoin too. So it remains to be seen exactly what that is. But if we look to El Salvador as the example, they seem to not really care. They ceded some ground on the currency aspect of it, but they continue to accumulate. And you can still use Bitcoin day to day for purchases within El Salvador. There's no restrictions around that. So I'm very curious to see what nations that also have dealings with the IMF decide to take this type of a stance and accumulate Bitcoin and create a strategic reserve regardless of what the IMF has to say about it. So we'll just have to wait and see into the future. But I mean, it's great. I'm here for it when anybody tells the IMF to go shove it. I would prefer if people just didn't even bother with the loans, but I suppose if people are going to loan you money and you can stack some sats with it, it's Saylor Playbook 101. And the hilarious thing is that the lender is not keen on it and they're doing it anyway.
Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions.